I will show you a quick and easy way on how to add some basic attack function to your game so that you will be able to play animations in all 4 directions and also damage enemies. We will be incorporating all of that stuff into our player movement script that we made last time, so feel free to check that video out. And we will start by creating some animations. So we will do it the same way. We will create animation clip for the attack, and we'll create 4 animation clips for attack up, left, right and down. So easily add all of those animation sprites into the animation and create 4 of them. Okay, so now as we have all of those animations set up, we can go into our player and go into Animator, where we will need to change some stuff in the blend tree. You can obviously delete all of those animations and go into the blend tree. So in the first blend tree, we will need to check in which direction we are moving, and then we will need to check if we are actually attacking or not. For this, we will create a new parameter which will be of type float. This will be attack, and the value of attack will be either 0 or 1 if we are attacking. And here we will just check if we are attacking. So the parameter will be attack, and if the attack is 1, we will just play the attack animation. So attack up, and if the attack value is 0, we will create new blend tree. In this blend tree, we will set the parameter to speed, and we'll decide if we should be idling or actually moving. And you can obviously set your own thresholds. So it is almost the same setup as the last time, but now we are adding the attack here. And we can do the same thing for all of those 4 blend trees. First, we check for the direction in which we should be moving. Then we check if we should be attacking or not. If yes, we play the attack animation, and if not, it means that we are moving. And then we decide if we should be idling or moving. So the script should look like this. Make sure that you have added everything correctly, all of those thresholds and all of those parameters and animations. We will go to the player script, and here we will need to add some stuff. So first, what we can add is on button input. When we press the left mouse button, which is named Fire 1, you could find this in the input settings. And we can set it on hold. When we are holding the button, the animation will be playing. And when we release the button, so on button input up, we want to turn the animation off. For this, we will use some timer and some toggle flow. That will allow us that we are not going to be able to spam the attack just by clicking. So we will add toggle flow, and here when we are pressing this button, we want to actually run this, but also we want to turn the flow to off. So we will need to use sequence. That way we can run the flow and turn it to off. When the flow is on, we will play the attack animation. So we can use the nodes that we have been using last time, animator set float. And when this is on, we can set the attack float that we have added to 1. And when we release the button, we want to set this float to on, but also we want to set the float attack to 0. So we will use sequence once more, like this, set this to on, set the float. And here for the on, we will also need to add some timer, so that way we have some cooldown between those attacks. So we will add just timer. And we can set it to something like 0.4. And when this timer is completed, we can set the flow to on, and we can try it. Okay, so you can see that this works. This animation part was pretty simple. Now we will add some functionality that when we are attacking, the player slows down a bit. For this, we will add another variable into our graph variables, which will have the same value as the attack variable in the animator, because we need to know in the script if we are attacking or not. So when we are setting the animator float to 1, we can also set attack float in our script to 1, that we know that we are attacking. And when we are not attacking, we can do the same thing, just set it to 0. Now back in the part where we are setting the movement speed, we will need to add if, and if attack is equal to 1, this means that we are attacking. Then we want to set the movement speed of the player to magnitude of the movement direction multiplied by, let's say, 0.5. And when we are not attacking, we can just set the movement speed to its original value, which is just magnitude of the movement direction, like this. Okay, so now we can see that when I'm attacking, the player is moving slower, and when I'm walking, the speed is normal. And the last thing that we'll obviously add is damaging the enemies. For this, we'll need to create new empty game object under the player, which will be holding the collider. That way we know that we are actually able to hit some enemy. So just add component, and we can use the polygon collider 2D. For the points, we can set the size to 5 and just adjust it. So this should be okay for the player's attack range. Also, don't forget to set it to its trigger. And now we will need to make sure that this is actually rotating with the player when we are playing those animations. So we will drag the animation window somewhere here. And now we will need to open each animation, hit the record button, and on the beginning of the animation, we will just rotate the collider where the player is looking. So now as the player is looking down, I will just reset it so that it is registering the movement like this, and hit record once more so that it will rotate to the direction where the player is looking. And when we are attacking to left, we can obviously hit record, rotate it to the left, so to minus 90 degrees. We can turn it off. And now in this animation, it is looking to the left. And when I go to the attack down, you can see that it is looking down. So like this, we will do it for all of those animations. So make sure that even when you are doing the looking down animation, you actually reset the rotation so that it is registering the movement. So now as we move with the player, you can see that the collider is also rotating with the player. Now we can quickly add some enemies, so just right click, to the object, sprites, square. Change the color. Also add collider. We can add the box collider 2D. Change the order in layer. Add script machine and script to it. In this script, we can just add some object variable which will be for the health. It will be type of float. We can set it to, let's say, 20. And if the health is less or equal than 0, we can obviously just destroy this object. And this should be all for the enemy. Now on the player we will add new object variable which will be for the attack collider. It will be type of game object, just assign the collider. And now we can use the on trigger enter 2D and on trigger exit 2D. So when the attack collider enters and exits some collider, we need to know if tag of the collider is the enemy. So we can just say tag get. And we'll do the same thing for the on trigger exit 2D. And if the tag is equal to some string, which will be the tag, we can put here enemy. Also don't forget to add the tag to your enemy. And from the collider that we are colliding with, we will need to get the game object. So collider 2D game object, because we will set new variable, which will be for the enemy that is now in our attack range. That way we can then subtract health of that enemy. So we will create new graph variable for the enemy in attack range. This will be of type game object. And here we will just set enemy in attack range to the enemy that we are now colliding with, like this. And when we exit the collider, we can just copy this part. When we exit the enemy, we can set the enemy in attack range to null. So now in the variable we should have the enemy that is in the attack range. And now here I will create another part of the script, which will be on update, and this will be just damaging the enemy. So we first need to check if we are actually attacking. So if equals, if attack equals 1, which means that we are attacking, then we will need some cooldown. That way we are not subtracting the health from the enemy all the time. I will set it to 0.67 because I know that the animation is 0.67 seconds long. You can check it when you select the animation. You can see that it is 0.067, but in the animator we actually have set the blend tree to 0.1. This means that it is times 10 longer. And when this countdown is completed, we'll need to check if the enemy is not null, because this might also happen. So if the enemy in attack range is not null, we can then set object variable of the enemy. So the variable is on the enemy, which is this object, and we have called it health. And to which value we want to set it? It will be health minus 10. So subtract 10, and we'll also need to get object variable. And this will be also on the same enemy, and it will be type health. And just from this subtract 10 and set it to health. And this should be all for the code. So now we can still play the animation, and when we are attacking we are moving slower. And when I come to one of those enemies and start attacking, you can see that the health will decrease. I can set it to 50, and as I start attacking it, yeah, you can see that it is decreasing by 10 as I set it in the script. And yep, now the enemy is dead. So this is the easy way on how you can make some basic animations and the attack functionality that might be pretty useful for your game. In the future videos, I'm also planning to do some more complicated attacks like shooting or some charging for the attack. So stay tuned for this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will see you in next videos. Bye!